folks. Are you passionate about democracy and concerned about the rise of authoritarianism? I'm Joanne, Kevin's wife, and I've seen him give everything to this work. That's why Coffee with Democrats matters, lifting up stories, building connections, and keeping democracy strong. So tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for 30 minutes of conversation with elected officials, candidates, and Democratic influencers, only on Coffee with Democrats. So join me in welcoming the Executive Director and host of Coffee with Democrats, my husband, Kevin Dawson.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Coffee with Democrats. Hey, we've got a friend in the studio with us. Nick Coffey is here. Nick, good evening. How are you doing this evening?
Good evening, Kevin. I'm doing well. Happy to be here, ready to get to Thanksgiving. I'm sure we all are, but no, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me very much.
It's our pleasure to have you here and have you come to our new studio. You're actually our first guest in the multimedia studio. We've done this online, but we've never had a guest in the studio. So I appreciate you coming and enjoying this with us. And again, you're running for Attorney General, and it's a really big position. It's a statewide position. Everybody in all 77 counties gets an opportunity to vote for you. And we're going to go through your background. We're going to ask, why are you running? And then we're going to follow up. Our last question is going to be, why should people vote for you? Whether they're Republican, Independent, Republican, Democrat, or somebody who is maybe leaning somewhere in the middle that's not even registered as anything. So a non-registered voter. So anyway, we'll start with just doing a quick introduction. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you grew up, where you went to school, and your qualifications for being an attorney general for the state.
Okay, I think I can do that, Kevin. So I'm a fifth generation Oklahoman. My dad's side of the family is from Okarche. My granddad had a wheat and cattle operation out there until he passed away a couple of years ago. My great uncles Mike and Jerry are still out there. My dad goes out there and farms with my uncle. So that's my dad's side of the family. Mom's side, my granddad out there was an attorney. He was a U.S. attorney, actually. Presidentially appointed one under JFK and LBJ. And I raised that, right, because I got a real commitment to public service for my granddad, my mom's side growing up. I idolized him, but I also, from my dad's side, saw how hard farming and ranching was. And it taught me the value of hard work.
Right.
I grew up in Oklahoma City, though. I grew up in the Catholic school system. Went to Catholic schools through 12th grade, and went to OU undergrad and OU law. And then for the majority of my legal career, I was the U.S. Attorney's Office in Oklahoma City. I was a federal prosecutor there. So what I did is I was on our organized crime unit, and that meant that I was leading investigations and prosecuting cases with FBI, DEA, Homeland Security investigations, and also some state partners like OCPD and Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics. At the U.S. Attorney's Office, I kind of had, on the organized crime unit, I sort of had three buckets of cases. So I focused on cases targeting the violent prison gangs that our state has an issue with. These are major prison gangs that are coordinating drug trafficking from within our state Department of Corrections institutions. I prosecuted and investigated illegal Chinese marijuana grows that have popped up all across the state. I figured out how they were laundering money, how they're getting that money back to New York and back to China. And finally, I prosecuted cases targeting cartel groups operating here in Oklahoma. They were taking orders from cartel bosses back in Mexico, importing huge amounts of methamphetamine and fentanyl into Oklahoma City. So I was a trial prosecutor. I was a trial lawyer. I was a prosecutor. That's what I did.
Right.
So I, like a lot of Oklahomans, I think I'm not very pleased with where we are as a state right now. For me, it really bothered me to see the law applied equally in federal court, where no one gets a break based on who you know, if you're politically connected or not, how much money you have. At least my defendants didn't. And it really bothered me to look out and see state legislators in political appointments and members of the executive branch kind of running roughshod over civil statutes, criminal statutes, ethics commission rules.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like there was any real consequence other than a slap on the wrist a lot of the time. And I didn't think that was very fair. And so I made the decision to leave the U.S. Attorney's Office in September. I'm part-time at a law firm in Oklahoma City, Cohen Dunleavy now, but I'm primarily focused on my campaign, which first and foremost is about making sure we keep politics out of the Attorney General's office and also making sure that the law is applied fairly and equally without attention to whether you're a member of the political elite, whether you have money, or whether you happen to be buddies with somebody down at the state capitol. So I feel very strongly about that, and that's what I want to bring to the AG's office.
So I want to, again, an impressive resume. One of the things that I did some research on the other candidates. Neither one of them have prosecutorial experience. Neither one of them have actually done anything other than corporate law. And one of them has a real problem with corruption and things in his background that's followed him around everywhere he goes, and controversies that are unbelievable. There's one candidate out there, yourself, who is actually leading the pack that has all of the boxes checked that a person needs. And so that brings me to ask the question, why are you the one that people should vote for?
So the biggest reason, Kevin, is that I believe firmly that the Attorney General's office should not be used to advance a political agenda.
Mm-hmm.
It should not be used to show favoritism towards certain industries or people. And I think alluding or getting at one of your points you just made, I believe strongly that the Attorney General's position, in particular any elected position in our state government, should not be used to benefit your outside business interests.
Sure.
There's nothing more noble than public service. I mean, that's why I worked with very committed public servants in law enforcement for many years in the U.S. Attorney's Office. People are not in this position to make money, right? You're in it to serve your community and to serve the public good. And so I think that the Attorney General, the reason I'm the person for this job is that's exactly why I'm running. And one of the other reasons I'm running is I believe strongly that the Attorney General should have actually worked with law enforcement before. I'm the only one in the race with prosecutorial experience. You go through my cell phone, it is full of cops and agents because these people were my friends that I worked with on a daily basis. And I saw the sacrifices they made for their families. And people think, I have agents, right, working Title III wiretaps where they've got court authorization to do certain surveillance. And you wouldn't believe, they are working, 16-hour, 18-hour days in the wire room, right? People don't see the sacrifices that law enforcement actually make for their families. And it made me take pride in and respect our law enforcement institutions even more. The last point I'll make is that I think you brought up just about experience as an attorney. I don't think you can walk into the AG's office and where you are tasked with leading, 150 attorneys or so. It varies based on year to year, but how are you supposed to walk into an attorney general's office and lead those groups of people if you've never done a jury trial?
Right.
Right. My last jury trial at the U.S. Attorney's Office, there were 5 defendants in the largest methamphetamine case that our district ever tried. We indicted 15 or so people. Everyone else pled guilty. 5 of them took me to trial. 2 money launderers, 3 people that were involved in importing liquid methamphetamine from Mexico through the McAllen, Texas area in the gas tanks of semi-trucks. 5 defendants took me to trial, and we convicted every single one. The jury was out after a 2-week trial, about 45 minutes, right? If you can't try a criminal case or any jury trial, frankly, you have no business being the Attorney General. Correct.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. And that's one of the things that I was so impressed with your resume when again, doing the research, it showed everything that a person would actually want from an Attorney General, from experience at a federal level, state level, and being able to have those connections that people are going to have from the attorney general level, being able to reach across state lines to other attorney generals or to the attorney general of the United States, to be able to get the necessary resources to the state of Oklahoma that you need in order to continue to push these prosecutions up. Mm-hmm. So that, again, we're talking about good guys, bad guys. The bad guys that are really trying to harm the people of this state, you're the person, you're the bulwark that prevents that, or actually helps lead that effort to stop that from happening. The people that are out in the field, the law enforcement, those are the people that are actually, doing the boots on the ground sometimes, but they need to have that leadership from an attorney general. And it's not just an attorney general position where you cosplay and put on a vest and a badge and carry a gun in front of the camera, but you actually live those experiences. And that's something that you had that experience with, and not just like I see on the advertisements for some of the other attorney general, or for the governor, I should say, that it just sickens me because it's completely unnecessary. It's actually showing some bravado. In your case, you have that experience. You have done those things that are so important. So let's talk a little bit about your experience a little bit more. So we talked about why people should vote for you. Why did you decide, after spending 7 years in the Department of Justice as an attorney, why all of a sudden did you decide in September to quit that job and come back to Oklahoma to be to run for Attorney General for the state of Oklahoma?
So, like a lot of Oklahomans, I'm watching state officials run roughshod over a lot of laws, right? And that bothered me. We've got state representatives passing a law so that his wife can inherit her mother's lucrative tag agency. That's great. And I say the word grifting, and people say, "What's great?" But when you're using your position to get rich,
right?
You're not in the legislature actually advancing the interests of your constituents. Look, there's a lot of different forms of corruption, if you will. It's not just sliding a bag of cash across the table in a quid pro quo. Do this for me. It's also betraying the interests of your voters in favor of those special lobbied interests that are fueling your campaigns, frankly. Things like that to the legislature. Ryan Walters significantly, the issue of Ryan Walters significantly bothered me. There were numerous instances where, the state, either the legislature, lacked the political courage to call for his impeachment. And frankly, the AG and state officials lacked the political resolve to actually bring legal action to prevent things, right? Him coming up with an ideology test that had no basis in statute, and we don't even need to dive into the many problems the Ethics Commission found. But look, I want to be clear about this too. This is not just, I recently called for the resignation of a Democratic representative in the state house over ethics violations. And long story short, I felt strongly about that because I feel like if we're going to actually gain the trust of voters, I think it's essential to call out corruption on both sides of the aisle. And so, look, I want to show Oklahomans the good, right, that can be done. If you have an independent attorney general that's actually there just applying the law, that isn't using the position as a political stepping stone, it's actually there to make sure that everybody's treated fairly, that people's rights are respected, and that first and foremost, you're making sure that the other members of state government are actually working for us rather than their state interests, which is why I actually believe that the attorney general is the most important position, at least for Oklahoma, right now.
So you've got a platform that you're working with that you want to roll out once you become attorney general. You've got an idea of some of the key issues that you want to focus on. Go ahead and talk to us about some of those key issues that you really want to push forward.
So the AG, first and foremost, needs to have at the top of his agenda protecting parents and families.
Right.
Parents, families, and kids. I think you can do that in a large number of ways. And it's not just ensuring that someone like the next Ryan Walters, because there will be another Ryan Walters at some point, right?
Sure.
He was a symptom of a broken political system. He's not the cause of all of our problems. I think focusing on, frankly, large platforms, gaming platforms, internet platforms, call them what you will, they don't have appropriate safeguards in place for kids, I think has to be a priority of the Attorney General. I mean, there's been national news about this Roblox lawsuit where a 12-year-old was targeted by a sexual predator. It is the job of the Attorney General to bring a suit against a company like Roblox to ensure that that company is making sure their platform is safe for kids. Abuse in rural schools is also on my mind. And this is a significant issue, one, because we're not, doing a good job of keeping kids safe in schools, but we're also, frankly, because we're not investigating the patterns and practices in not just rural schools, but urban schools too. We're opening up the state to huge lawsuits for abuse and for essentially not having good patterns and practices. That's a problem. Talked a little bit about corruption. So I'll move on to, crime. I think that, one problem that is significantly affecting Oklahoma, which we don't hear enough about, is the large-scale prison drug trafficking going on. That case I referenced earlier, where the a cartel in Mexico tied to CJ&G cartel was this group, were importing methamphetamine into Oklahoma up to the Oklahoma City area where it was converted, right? All those drugs, Kevin, were actually being purchased by prison gangs. So this is somebody sitting in one of our state prisons, whether it be the head of the Irish mob, the Serranos, or the Universal Aryan Brotherhood. And they have a contraband cell phone that's been smuggled into the facility. And they are calling bosses in Mexico, head of cartels, and they are coordinating the shipment of drugs into Oklahoma. And those drugs are then getting to the hands of the couriers outside of prison, and they're distributed all across Oklahoma, including rural Oklahoma. This is a huge issue because it's affecting, I saw at the U.S. Attorney's Office, it's affecting our overall crime rates, it's affecting homelessness rates, it's affecting addiction and mental health in Oklahoma. And I think if we're actually serious about getting our house in order, if you will, we have to get a handle on prison drug trafficking. Chinese marijuana grows. Look, I investigated these groups significantly at U.S. Attorney's Office. I know how they operate. I know that if you actually want to dismantle them, you have to hit them financially. To figure out how they're laundering their money, you have to use criminal forfeiture to take that piece of land that they bought for $1 million with laundered cash. That's the only way that you can actually dismantle these groups, and that's what I'm going to do as Attorney General. Finally, look, costs are on my mind right now. I find it extremely troubling. We have some of the highest homeowner insurance premiums in the country right now. And I think it is the job of the Attorney General to make sure that whether it's an insurance company or a payday loan service or, again, like a tech platform, to make sure that major companies are not trying to fleece, take advantage of Oklahomans, right? Consumer protection needs to be at the forefront of the Attorney General's office. And that is where I'm going to place it as Attorney General.
Well, that's, again, that is the platform of a very successful candidate for Attorney General. It gives you the basis to be able to establish the rest of the house that you want to build once you become Attorney General. But you have to get there first. And that's where organizations like Coffee with Democrats, Cleveland County Democrats, the Oklahoma Democratic Party all need to do everything they can. All of the counties that have organized Democratic Party affiliations and stood up the county parties need to be getting involved in getting you out to visit with more people and see people. And that's where I'm going to bring in your campaign website right now, because there's two things that a candidate has to have. Number one, they have to have the name recognition that comes from having a platform where people can go and read about them and find out more about them. You've got an excellent website. The second thing is you've got to have funding, and people are going to have to support you for this. And we don't need $4 million donors like the Republicans got the Koch brothers and got all these other people to give that money. We just need everyday people just to give a coffee cup of, whatever you'd pay for at the coffee shop, $5 for a cup of coffee. We get 10,000 people to do that. You're going to be able to bankroll your entire campaign from now through the election with something like that. So a small donation can go a long way, but the recurring donations is really what really matters to a candidate, because at your level, you're going to be working against two very well-established people that are going to be bringing in huge bankrolls and supported by this MAGA establishment with the GOP that's going to fund Oklahoma, their campaigns. Yeah. And so having that recurring donation is so important for people to have that as well. So I'm going to pull up your here we go, share screen, Nick Coffey for OK. And I want people to be able to see this on the screen. You can actually see it. I'm going to scroll it down. It has a little video that plays at the very beginning. And again, as we go down, you get to see more about, who the prosecutor is. And one of the things that we haven't touched on so far is you're not a politician by trade.
I'm not a politician at all.
Yeah, this is the first
time.
time.
Thinking you could be doing this interview a little bit better, and the answer is yeah, I probably could, because I'm not a politician. I don't have any practice in this.
But that's the good thing, though, is we don't need a politician. We need a fighter. We need somebody who is out there fighting for the state of Oklahoma and for the citizens. And the other thing that is so important is this little, you've got a little box up here in the corner called Chip In. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to click on that, and that's going to bring up some more information about how to chip into your campaign. So I'm going to pull that up again. I'm going to close one website down and open up another one, because it gives people the opportunity to see how to chip into your campaign. So bear with me just a second while I pull up the other screen. Support Nick Coffey for Attorney General. That's the one right there. Hey, folks, don't let that $1,000 campaign contribution scare you away. It's there. It's part of the necessary things that we have to do when we're running for office. We have to be able to put them out there. But look over to the right-hand side and toward the bottom. There's other amounts that are really permissible. And the one that I really want you to go to is the one that says Other. That's where you can give that $5, $10, $20. If you want to go to $50, $25 and $50 is already there. And those campaign finance contributions that you will give actually go to a good cause. Nick's going to have to pay for a lot of things. And this is where my campaign, where I'm asking for your help on behalf of Nick. We need your help so that we can get Nick in front of the news media. We need your help so that we can get some campaign ads out there. Those are very costly. And that's why it's so important for those contributions, let alone the gas money, the time that to drive across to all 77 counties and meet with you, the people of Oklahoma, where you are, so you don't have to try to come and find him. It all takes money for him to do this. And that's why it's so important for having some campaign contributions. I know people get tired of hearing about that stuff, but I think it's so important that we've got to be able to mention a little bit of that, because the campaign contributions are extremely important for every single candidate. And guess what, folks? We have got a lot of candidates this year. And that is such a great problem to have. And we've got a full slate at the state level that I think we're going to be extremely happy with. So let's talk a little bit more about you, and time for Kevin to kind of be quiet here, but let's give some closing thoughts. We've got about 5 more minutes, so why don't you go ahead and close us out with some of your closing thoughts that you want to have for people to think about whenever they're giving contributions, or just contemplating whether to vote or support you.
Yeah. So the biggest thing, I bet your listeners are, they're thinking this right now, is can you win? And I can win. There's a path to win. We have the numbers. But, we know specifically what counties we need to win. But none of this is going to matter, right, if we can't get our message out. And so, again, Kevin, you bringing up fundraising, it's crucial, right? Because, look, this is why I also put the numbers aside. This is why I know I can win. Because I think Oklahomans actually want an attorney general that can actually do the job, that's running to actually do a job rather than just have a title. And I think when you put that to Oklahomans and say, okay, do you want a candidate that's actually, so there's one candidate in this race that's actually done criminal, let alone jury trials on his own. There's one candidate in this race that's actually worked with law enforcement, right? I think there's one candidate in this race that's ever argued before the Federal Court of Appeals. There's one actual attorney in this race, and it's me. And I think if you just took party out of it, right, that it would be a pretty easy decision for every single Oklahoman about who to vote for. I mean, when you look at my platform, aggressively litigating cases on behalf of Oklahoman families, parents, and kids, ensuring that Oklahoma families are kept safe, and that the AG's office is promoting and respecting law enforcement, making sure that our public officials are held to the same standard, Kevin, that you or me would be held to if we broke the law. I think these are pretty core things that all Oklahomans can believe in, can get behind. So we have the message, we just have to get it out. And look, at the end of the day, I think Oklahomans want an attorney general in there that's not about, not in there to advance politics, not there to use it as a political stepping stone. And I think if you look at the other people in this race, I'm the only one that is not independently wealthy. I'm the only one that doesn't have friends all across state government. I'm the only one that's not going to get into office and use the position in order to benefit your friends at the Capitol, your friends in the governor's mansion, or my rich business friends, which I don't have them, right? That's me, right? And I think Oklahomans want a straight shooter in the attorney general's office. And when you look at the slate of candidates, I'm the only one there that actually is going to do it. I want, at the end of the day, after I'm done being attorney general, I want Oklahomans to say, that was an attorney general, Nick Coffey, who actually was in there to serve the people, that kept families safe, that actually addressed some of the major criminal issues facing the state, and actually put the Oklahoma consumer at the forefront of the attorney general's agenda, right where it should have been and right where it should have always been. I'm the man for the job, and I'm going to hit the ground running on day one. There will be no learning curve, and we're going to be there to serve the people of Oklahoma.
Well, that's an awesome statement right there. I'm going to throw your link so that people know how to get to you, www.coffeeforok.com. Nick, it's been a great pleasure to have you come on to Coffee with Democrats. You are an outstanding candidate, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with you talking about some of the issues that you really want to dig deep into. But man, I am so impressed with your everything that you're bringing to the plate so far. And just like you said, there's only one candidate. And it kind of, as both of us are OU grads, there's only one.
There's only one.
So, we got to kind of lean on that a little bit. And you're it. You are the one. And I'm going to say that with all sincerity. I am just totally behind, supporting you on this 100%. So, folks, go to his website. Help him as best you can, as much as you can. Coming back next week on Coffee with Democrats, we're going to have a special guest. After that, we're going to have John Waldron, who is the chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party, and he's also a legislator out of Tulsa. He's going to be on here with us. Then we're going to have Gina Nelson, who is running for CD5 for the House over there. So we're going to have Gina coming on in 2 weeks. Then we've got Representative Rosecrans is going to be coming on. And then after the first year, we've got other candidates that are lined up that we're going to keep this podcast going. And then once session starts in February 2nd, we're not going to be bothering the legislators as much. We're going to go back out on the road and start focusing on the actual candidates themselves and bring them on Coffee with Democrats. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us on Coffee with Democrats today. And it's a great pleasure to be able to have this podcast, to be able to bring somebody as important as Nick on here, because he is absolutely somebody that Oklahoma needs. It's almost like a breath of fresh air. But until next week, folks, please be safe and keep your eye on the Democrats, and also spread the word. Let your neighbors know that the Democrats are here to help everybody, not just a small group of people. So until next week, guys and gals, ladies, gentlemen, people, thank you. We'll see you next week.
Coffee with Democrats is broadcast from the multimedia studio inside the Cleveland County Democrats office with their gracious permission to use the space. Our thanks to the Cleveland County Democrats Central Committee and Chair Jamie Shelton for accommodating our Tuesday night show.